but not a fixed value. Whenever I create when can I create an instance? I can create an instance whenever I want. I can create an instance whenever I want, and I can create an instance only for one time or multiple times in any place I want. So whenever I create an instance, I can pass a value, the value will come there and initializes. Last day I shown you this, remember? If you observe, the instances class first you created now, and all the three instances of class first for the x value 100. You created three instances of the class second also, and all the three instances for the x value, guys. The x value is different. The x value is different now. So under each instance we have a different value of x now. 100, 200, 300. But here all the three times the x value is 100 only. Understood the drawback here? Static, dynamic. This is dynamic. This is the first advantage of defining a constructor explicitly in our code without taking the help of implicit constructor. Is it clear? Okay. Well, guys, see, look at this. What is x? X is a field, not variable. It's a field. Field or variable? A variable, block level. Scope of A is block level, variable. Scope of X is class level. It is class level, not class level. See, out of the class also accessible. Public na. So this is a field. This is global. This is a field. This is local. This is a variable. Now, can a variable and field have the same name? Can a variable and field have the same name? Can variable names and field names be same? Yes, guys, you can have the variable names and field names same. See, for example, you're writing a class like this, public class test. In this class, you're writing int x is equals to 100. So this is a field. And now you're writing a method, public void display. And here, I want to write int x is equals to 50. Right? This is valid. No issues at all. You can do this. That is a variable first. It is a variable. Just a minute. It is a variable. And this code is valid. You can have the field and variable name same. You can have the field and variable name same. But problem is, if at all I write console dot write line x, now the confusion starts now. Sir, which x are you referring to? Because we have two x's. Yes or not? How many copies of x are there? Two copies of x. And the question will be, sir, which x are you referring now? In this scenario, the first preference always goes to local. In this scenario, the first preference always goes to local. See, if this is y, now what is x? X is the field now. Okay, but here also if the name is x, what is the value of x? 50 now, not 100. Did you understand me or not? Why? First preference always goes to local, not to global. So in this case, if at all you want to access the field, recollect yourself here, you learned in C language also. We learned it in C language also, this keyword. To refer to global, we use this. Local is directly accessible. Local is directly accessible. If at all you want to refer to global only, conflict occurs, but for local is directly accessible. And if at all you want to refer to the global, what do you say? Yes, dot x. Are you clear or not? Yes or not? Okay, remember this one. So variable names and field names can always be same. Not at all a problem. If names are same, conflict comes. So to eradicate the conflict, use this keyword. Say, look here. Here also I'm writing x. If I say x is equals to x here, if I say x is equals to x, there is no error. But see, when you run the code, all of you observe what is your output. See, Zero, see? Yesterday we got 100, 200, 300 now. Now we got zeros. Sir, why you getting zeros? When I change the variable name, when I change the name here, this is A. This is going to be A now. No problem. Executes perfectly, shows 100, 200, 300. But when I change the name here, error is not coming, but the value is also not coming. Why it's not coming? Just now I explained to you. Within the block, if you say X means local or global, within the block, if you say X means local now, so what are you doing there? You are assigning the local variable X to itself here. See the code, X is equals to X means what is the meaning? You are assigning the local variable X to local variable X only. Means this is not getting the value. So it has default value now. What is the default value? 0. So that is the reason why when I execute this, it is printing you the value as 0 because your field value will be printed, not variable value. Understood my point? So you see there a green line underscore under there. Red line means error. Green line means warning. What is warning? And already explained, you remember, warnings will run the code. Warnings will not stop the execution of the code. What is warning? See, put your mouse there, read it. Louder, louder. It is telling you the problem. It is telling you the problem. Array assignment made to same variable and also asking you a question. Do you mean to assign to something else? Yes, I want to assign to something else. I want to assign to my field. I want to assign to my field and also giving a comment. Unnecessary. The unnecessary assignment here. Why you want to assign the same to same again? Are you clear? So that is an unnecessary assignment. So how to write the code? This dot x is equals to x. Okay, run. You got the correct thing. Now you have a doubt. What is the doubt? Sir, why to use the same names? Can't we use the different names? You can. Already first we use the different names only. But tomorrow, when you're working in the industry, guys, you never use the different names. Always what you use the same names only. Reason I'll tell you. Suppose you have 10 fields and all the 10 fields are initialized by 10 parameters of a constructor. You have 10 fields here. All the 10 fields should be initialized by 10 fields, 10 parameters of a constructor. 10 parameters of a constructor should initialize the 10 fields. If you give different names, what is the headache, Which field value, which variable value goes to which field? You use the different names to fields, different names to variables. Now tomorrow, suddenly when you look into the code, how do you understand which variable value is going to which field? When names are same, easy to understand here. A value goes to A, B value goes to B, C value goes to C. Suppose you give the name says A, B, C, D, and give the name says X, Y, Z here. Can conflict now, na? When you have one or two, not a problem here. Think thousands of lines of code in your class, number of fields in your class, multiple parameters. You cannot remember all these names now. Are you clear? So always it is a good habit of giving the same names only. Always make sure you are giving the same names. So you overcome the conflict of name, what you use? This keyword. This dot x is equals to x, and suppose you have 3 parameters x, y, z. This dot x is equals to x. This dot y is equals to y. This dot z is equals to z. Am I clear? We have all the naming conventions you should follow here. Why you know? Problem is generally we have a problem. I say something today, we'll forget tomorrow. Yes or not? If I ask you a question, you put a blank face. Half an hour before I said also, you're putting a blank face. Like if after 1 month, if I ask, it's a complete whitewash. We don't remember that. Did we write this code? We'll ask. Okay. So in that, when you write lines and lines of code, thousands of lines of code in a class, it is very hard to remember each and everything. So following this naming conventions is very, very important in the development. Am I clearer, all of you? Okay, so don't forget this and follow the naming conventions perfectly. Sir, if the field, if the modifier of the field is private, then this keyword is valid or not? When did I say about public and private to you? I did not say that now. I did not say anything. If I did not say anything, what is the meaning? Everywhere is valid. Everywhere it is valid. How we get 100? You're passing the value, say. When you are creating an instance, you pass the value. What is the value? 100. The value 100 comes to x. And the x is assigned to x here. And afterwards, you are printing the x value. You are printing the x value. When the instance is created, the control first goes to constructor. Constructor will initialize the field. Now, memory is allocated. Finally, you are printing the value. Last class I explained you that only, guys. What happens when you create an instance? When instance created, control first comes to constructor. Constructor will initialize the fields. In this process, memory allocation is performed. Once the memory allocation is performed, everything is set ready for execution now. Now you are executing s1.x. The x is initialized already and x is printed. See, when you create the three instances, memory is allocated for all the three for you. Now you are calling s1.x, s2.x, s3.x. Are you clear? Okay. So this is about the constructors here. I have already said you two more uses of a constructor. Two more uses of a constructor last class. What is it? Every class requires some values for execution. Every class requires some values for execution. The values that are required for a class to execute are always sent to the class through the constructor of the class. I explained you now, connection class. Connection class requires some information. What information? Which database? Which database? Again, what is the user ID? What is the password? All the information is required. So how you do it? You pass it while creating the instance. Third one also I said, what is the third one? Method parameters will make a method dynamic. Constructor parameters will make a constructor. So the whole class dynamic, not constructor dynamic, I'm sorry. The whole class dynamic. The second 2 points here, I'll show you practically. I'll show you practically. Point and an example for you there. Are you clear? Pre-advantage, first advantage, I shown you. Second and third, I only said you, but I will give you explanation for both the two things also. Okay. See, here I listed you both the 2 points. Every class requires some values for execution, and the values that are required for a class to execute should be passed to the class with the help of a constructor. So third point, just like parameters of a method will make a method dynamic, same as the parameters of a constructor will make the whole class dynamic, not constructor dynamic. What is dynamic? The whole class will be dynamic for you in this case now. Okay now? So how, sir, how? That two things I will explain you going forward. Okay? So today we are going to discuss about a very important thing here. What is that? Already we talked about this, guys, but I did not give you a detailed explanation about that. What we talked, like static. Remember, members of a class are two types. What are the two types? Non-static, static. A class can contain two different categories of members, static and non-static members. Yes or not? Okay. So basically we never understood in detail about that. We understood about static, non-static members are there, but we never got into detail at any time. Okay. So today I wanted to give you a clear explanation about static. Say, listen, this is a keyword. This is a keyword using which we can declare a member of a class, or a class as static. Did you understand the first point? This is a keyword using which we can declare a member of a class or a class as static. Means, say you write int x is equals to 100. And remember here, if you write int x is equals to 100, this is non-static. This is non-static. This is not static. This is non-static. But if at all I want to make it static, what I do? Static int y is equals to 200. This is static. What is the difference? That only we have started that. To understand that only we started this discussion. But by default, every member of a class is Non-static only. If you want to make it static, you need to prefix it with static. Are you clearer or not? Okay. So remember, by default, every member of a class is non-static only. And to make it as static, we need to use what? Static keyword on it. We need to use a static keyword on it. Okay, watch. Class test. Clear? Okay, and one more thing, guys. See, I'm writing void main. Static or non-static? Non-static. That is non-static. To make it static, every day we are doing it. What are you writing? So without using a static modifier, member of a class will not become static. Without using static modifier, member of a class will not become static. Okay? But one thing remember, if a variable is declared in a static block, then this is automatically static. Simple common sense here. That's no rocket science there. What is it? A variable declared in a static block is also static. Okay? Remember, is a variable member of the class? No. Variable is not a member of a class here. Members of the class are 8 only. Recollect yourself. Field, method, constructor, finalizer, properties, indexers, events, deconstructors. These are the 8 members listed to you. Variable is not a member. Are you clear? Variable is a part of a method. Or variable is block. Variable is a part of a block. So variable is not a member. So what I'm trying to tell you is every member of the class is by default non-static, and to make it static we must use static keyword. Without using static keyword, any member will not become static at all. Clearer? But variables declared inside a static block are automatically static. Any confusion? Tell me. Can we use main method from another class? I did not understand. Using main method from another class. What do you mean? What do you mean by using main method from another class? Okay. So what is it? So as we discussed, this point you already discussed here. The last point, what I'm telling you, already discussed. What is it? Main method can I call? Why do you call main method? Main method is implicitly called. We never call main method here. Main method is implicitly called. If you want to consume that class, create the instance of the class and consume, not calling the main method. That's wrong. Okay. So look at this. What's it? Members of a class are divided into 2. Remember this one? Yes or not? What was that? Non-static. Second one, we already know that, and how to make it static also I said you. By default, everything is non-static only. To make it static I said you. So what is the difference between static and non-static? Say, non-static members of a class require instance of the class for initialization as well as for to initialize and execute instances required. Do you remember? Day before yesterday, we declared class first. In that, we declared a public index, and we went to main method and tried to print the value of x. We got an error. And what did I say? Array, first create the instance. Without creating instance, we cannot, x won't be initialized. And initialization requires, and to access also requires instance now. Did you call directly or after x? Array, we directly called after creating an instance, so we called after x. I've explained you also. Why should I call? Because multiple copies of x will be there, so compulsory instance is required to access it. Is the point clear? Okay. So for initialization also instance is required. For execution also instance is required. Then what about non-static? Sorry, what about static? Static members of a class. Static members of a class doesn't require. Understood the point? Static requires a instance. Non-static doesn't require a instance. That is why main method is static, so that CLR can call the main method without the instance. In our older languages, we is calling operating system calls. But in Java, who will call JVM? We will call main method JVM. In C, C++ languages, who will call main method operating system. In Java, who will call the main method JVM. In C#, we will call the main method CLR. And they are going to call before instance creation or after instance creation. They are going to call the main method before instance creation or after instance creation. Before or after? Before. Array. After main method call only instance creation will happen, not after instance creation. Before instance creation, what is called? Main method. Now main method will create the instance. Understood? So static member doesn't require a instance. For initialization also not required. Execution also not required. I'll show you practically. Hold on. See. Actually, till now we talked about three members now. Fields, methods, constructors. So let me explain you about all the three now. I'll explain you in detail about each and everything. First, what you know? Non-static fields versus static fields, you'll understand. Next, non-static methods versus static methods. Next, non-static constructors versus static constructor. Let us analyze all these three in detail now. When to use non-static, when to use static, behavior of a non-static and behavior of a static. All these things we'll analyze now. First we'll start with fields. Can anyone answer this first question? What is the first question here? What fields are static and what fields are non-static? You watch the complete movie and finally you ask who is the hero of the movie. That much clearly explained you now, and you're again putting blank faces. What fields are static and what fields are non-static? By default, every field is non-static. To make it static, we need to use static keyword. Are you clear? So what is the first point? By default, every field is non-static, and to make it static, we need to use static keyword on it. We need to use a static keyword on it. And here we just understood a point. What is it? Variables declared inside a static block are also static by default. Are also static by default. So this is the code I explained you already. Okay, now X is non-static. Y is Z is on Z I did not use static, but on Z I did not use static, but still it is static. But still it is going to be static only. Okay, fine. Next. Just look now. I will add a class in the project. Fields.cs. You don't understand English, people? Very clearly, I'm telling you now, variables declared inside a static block are also by default, are also static by default. Why is that static means? That is static only. They define the compiler like that only. See, the food will be tasting. How do you cook? The food tastes. How do you cook? Okay, after the tasting like that, I cannot ask you why is it tasting like this. How is it prepared like that only to be present. The language syntaxes are defined in such a way, and everything will be such like that only. You cannot change. If you want to change anything, you design a language now. So you can just see internal class. Okay, I have a class here. Here I'm writing int x is equals to 100 and static int y is equals to 200. Okay, x is non-static, y is static. Okay, now all of you carefully observe this one. Just a minute. Console dot read line. Yeah, console dot read line. Now I wanted to print the x and y values. I want to print the x and y values. If I want to print the x and y values, they must be initialized or not? Yes or not? So now the question is, when static fields are initialized and when non-static fields are initialized. Did you understand the question? When static fields are initialized, when non-static fields are initialized. Okay, listen. Static fields are initialized immediately once the execution of the class starts. Static fields are initialized immediately once the execution of it starts. See, basically, execution of the class starts from the main method now. Yes or not? Once the execution starts with the main method, immediately static fields are initialized. That is why, see here, console dot write line y, I can directly print the y value. Did I set the startup object? No, I think. Yeah, I set up. Check it out. Got it or not? So no instance creation, nothing at all. We did not create an instance at all. Executed. Why? The initialization of static fields will be performed immediately once the execution of a class starts. So execution started here and y got initialized. Then what about non-static, sir? Non-static fields are initialized only after creating the instance of class. Non-static fields are initialized only after creating the instance of the class. That is why you cannot say console.writeLine x, that is invalid and error. Why is it an error? Because x requires an instance. X requires an instance. So the second point to understand is, what is that? Static fields are initialized immediately once the execution of class starts. Whereas non-static fields of a class gets initialized only after creating the instance of class, as well as, listen, as well as each and every time the instance is created. What is it, sir? What is that is? Listen. You declared two fields in your code. One is x, one is y, right? X is non-static and y is static. Now, look at here. Now the execution of the class started. Once the execution of the class started, irrespective of the instance, y is initialized. Irrespective of the instance, y is initialized. Now, y is automatically initialized for you here. This is y with the value 200. When this happened, execution started, y is initialized. That is why I'm able to straight away print the y value. But x is not initialized. That's why I cannot print the x value. To print the x value, what should I do? I need to create an instance first. First, an instance creation is compulsory now. Hold on. First, what you require to do? You require to create an instance here. Once after you create an instance, under this instance, it will initialize you x now. Under the initial instance initializes you x. For example, fields s1 is equals to new fields. Instance creation taken place now. Now, when the instance creation takes place at this point of time, so this is the instance you created. What is the name? S1. Now, under this S1, your x got initialized with the value 100. The x got initialized here with the value 100 there now. Sorry. Yeah, the x got initialized with the value 100 there. Is it clear, all of you? Yes or not? Now, guys, if I create one more instance, one more time it initializes, we saw instance, array 10 instances created, 10 times initializes it. That only is said you. Read it carefully. Class starts. Only after creating the instance of a class, as well as each and every time a new instance is created. How many instances you created, that many number of times it will initialize for you. So for example, if I create another instance to this class now, if I create another instance one more time, you see it's getting initialized. See, come here. Fields S2 is equals to new fields. Fields S2 is equals to new fields. So another copy of, and what is this new? S2. If I create one more instance, one more time initialized. Are you clearer or not? Now can you tell me this one? What is it? In the life cycle of a class, what is the life cycle, you know? The point you start, the moment you start the execution hitting F5, the moment you start the execution by hitting F5, okay? 2, the moment you stop the execution is called as life cycle. So this is one life cycle now. Are you clear? Again, right now 3 times I executed means 3 life cycles now. 100 times if I run the code, it is 100 life cycles. Now the question is, in the life cycle of a class, how many times a static field is initialized? Use your common sense here. I drawn and shown you where now. Putting blank is now. How many? One time. In the life cycle of a class, how many times a static field initialized? 1 and only 1 time. The answer is not 1. 1 and only 1. Non-static. Minimum 0. Array, no instance created, not initialized. No instance created, not initialized. Maximum n. N instances created, n times initialized. But what about static? 1 and only 1. 1 and only 1. See, look at the same. I'll remove all this code. Did I create an instance? No. But when I start this, y is initialized here. I'm not printing the value, but y is initialized in the memory. I did not print 1. Means y initialized is mandatory. How many times? 1 and only 1 time. But when you try to talk about x is not initialized here. X is not initialized here. So here I created 1 instance of the class, 1 time initialized. 2 instance of the class, 2 times. No instance is created, 0 times. Did you understand or not? Static is 1 and only 1, not 1. Understand? What is the answer? 1 and only, not static. Minimum 0, maximum n. Minimum 0, no instances created. Maximum n instances created. So based on the number of instances you create, that many number of times it is going to initialize for you. That is why you can directly call y and print it. How many is a y there? One only now. Straight away you can say console dot write line y. But you cannot directly say console dot write line x. How should I call? Console dot write line s1 dot x, s2 dot x. These are two separate copies here. You cannot directly access them. That's why you call them by using the instance always. Is it clearer? Yes or not? Now tell me guys, can I use static every time? Static has a typical behavior here. Static cannot be used in all the scenarios. Let me complete this. I'll explain you about the ATM case study. A case study about an ATM execution. Then you will understand. Static cannot be used in all. In what scenario static will be used, you will get a clarity there. Most of the fields in your class will be non-static only. Static comes into action only in particular scenarios. All the time static cannot be used in the code. Understood? Okay. Now answer my question. I'll make a point. Tell me true or false. What is that? The initialization of a non-static field. The initialization of a non-static field is associated with a constructor call. True or false? The initialization of a non-static field is associated with a constructor call. True or false? True. Yeah. Constructor call. Then only memory allocated, non-static. Yes or not? The initialization of a non-static field is associated with a constructor call. Agree with me? So, non-static fields are initialized through constructor. Non-static fields are initialized through constructor. See the same problem repeated again. See now? Two copies, same value. Last class we talked about that only now. When I 10 instances, why you the same value? Are you expecting the same value or different value? We expect a different value, not the same value. And to resolve the particular problem, what you do? Define a constructor in the code first. Public fields. Public fields. Index. Now what do you say? This dot x is equals to x. And now come here. And I'm passing the value 50 here. And I'm passing the value 150 here. So that initialized with the same value or different values. So now you can say the values are not 100 and 100. The value is 50 and the value is 150 here. So let me use it here. 50 and here 150. Got the point? Yes or not? Sir, can't I initialize a static fields with a constructor? Can't I initialize static fields with a constructor? You can initialize. You can initialize, but we don't do that. Why, sir? Why we don't do? How many copies of static fields are there? One copy or multiple copies, sir? How many instances can you create? Multiple instances. If you initialize a static field with a constructor, what will happen? Every new instance will override the value. Do you understand or not? You have one copy only now, but you have non-static constructor initializing a static field now. For example, I want to initialize this y through constructor. So how do you write? Comma into y. Okay, here we should not say this dot y. How you should write? Fields dot y. Static members are always referred with the class. Fields dot y is equals to y. I can do it. But what is the problem I'm telling you is, suppose I'll give a value 200 here. Now y becomes 200. Okay? In the next instance, I'll give 500. Array, it will overwrite that value now. Means you initialize the value. Before you consume, if a new instance is created, new instance will overwrite the value. Again, before you consume, someone creates another instance, it will overwrite the value. It will keep on overwriting the value. Array, what value won't be there? It will be overwriting now. Understood my point? Okay. So that is the reason why I never initialize static fields through constructor. Static fields are never initialized through a constructor. What fields are initialized to constructor? Only non-static fields. Don't think of initializing static fields with a constructor at any point of time. They will be keeping on changing up. They'll keep on changing up. That's not the right way. Static fields should not be initialized to constructor. Only non-static fields only should be initialized to the constructor. Are you clear with the two things now? Static fields, non-static fields. Actually, guys, a class can contain 4 different types of fields. 4 different types. What are the 4? Static, non-static. I explained you now already. Third, constant. 4, read only. Third one is constant fields. Constant fields. Fourth one, read only fields. First one is static. Second one, I already explained you. Third, constant, and fourth one, read all. So what is a constant field? You already know that. Well, that if a field is explicitly declared by using which keyword? Const keyword. We call it as keyword. We call it as a constant field. We call it as a constant field. Okay. And now, constant fields cannot be modified. Constant fields cannot be modified once after its declaration. So remember, all of you, constant fields cannot be modified once after its declaration. So it is mandatory to initialize a constant field at the time of declaration only. Remember, I already explained you this in the initial classes to you. See, I want to declare a constant field here. Constant float I is an error, guys. Why a constant field declaration should be initializing it now? See, clearly telling provide a value. Why? Later you can do that. So mandatory you should provide a value here only. It's equals to 3.1 for F. Is it clear? Declaration completed now? Yes or not? You can modify this again now. You cannot modify this again. This I cannot be modified anymore. That is what the meaning of a constant is. First point, declaration time initialize and cannot be modified. Okay, now answer this question. Look at the main method. How many instances of the class you created? How many? 2 instances. We created 2 instances of the class. Okay. Now, how many copies of X are present? 2. I will show you on the screen. How many? 2. How many copies of Y are present? 1 copy. Now the question is, how many copies of pi will be present? If I run this, how many copies of pi will be present? How many? Y. So, did you declare static? Then why you are telling 1? Why 1 copy? So, what is the link telling here? You are telling constant cannot be modified. I already said to you. Why 1 copy means you are telling cannot be modified? Get your answer. Ray, the answer should be, sir, when you cannot modify, what is the point of creating multiple copies? That is what you should tell. Sir, what copy only? Why? My question is, why one copy? Then it cannot be modified. Then what is the point of maintaining multiple copies now? Did you understand or not? If you can modify, maintain multiple copies, you modify one value that goes reflected to the second now. But this value cannot be modified. If I have 100 instances, 100 copies, unnecessary waste of memory only. Are you clearer or not? Why one copy? Because it cannot be modify. Maintaining multiple copies is unnecessary consumption of memory. So it is going to be only one copy. Is it clearer or not? Understood? So to be clear, the behavior of a constant is exactly similar to the behavior of a static. The behavior of a constant is exactly similar to the behavior of a static. Means, listen, initializes immediately once the execution of the class starts. Initializes immediately once the execution of the class starts. Means what? There is no link with the instance at all. There is no link with the instance at all. Once the execution of the class starts, it is initialized. See that it is not inside the instance, it is outside of the instance. Are you clearer, guys? It is not inside the instance, it is outside of the instance. Means it is not at all related with the instance. Constant also behaves in the same way. Or not, and maintains a single copy throughout the life cycle of the class. How many? Static is also single copy only, no? Okay, listen. The behavior of a constant field is exactly to the behavior of a, I'm sorry, static field. That is, it has initialized. It is initialized immediately once the execution of the class starts. Maintaining only a single copy throughout the life cycle. Throughout the life cycle. Are you clear? That's what I'm drawing and showing you guys. Observe it. It is not inside the instance. It has outside the instance. Means instance is not required for it. How y got initialized? Y also got initialized in the same. Now you have a doubt. What is the doubt? Sir, then what is the difference between static and constant? Okay. So, yeah, I'm sorry. What is the difference between a constant and static? Louder. Static can be modified. Static can be modified. Constant, that is the difference. Static field can be modified. Constant field cannot be modified. The only difference between static and constant is static is modifiable and constant is non-modifiable. Okay, listen. The only difference between static and constant is what is it? Static is modifiable but not constant. That's all. Other than this, constant and static are always same. Okay, look here. I can print the value of pi also without an instance only. Watch it. Before instance creation only, I'm printing the pi value possible because that is same as static. Instance not required at all. Instance not required at all. Even though I remove this code, means no instance creation, but still Wi-Fi will be printed. Is it clear? Both are same? Yes or not? Only one thing I highlighted here. What is this? Tomorrow I can change Y value. Can I change pi value? No. Pi value cannot be changed. The Y value can be changed always. So that is the difference what we have between constant fields and static fields. Clear? Three are clear? Yes or not? First, constant, static, single copies. Modifiable, not modifiable. Second one, non-static. Zero copies or n copies, modifiable. Okay? Yeah. What is the fourth one? Read only. What is read only field? Say. If field is explicitly declared by using a read only keyword, we call it as a read only field. And if you declare by using constant keyword, we call the constant field. If declare by using the read only keyword, we call it as a read only field. Okay. Now, can I modify a constant? Can I modify a constant after declaration? Can I modify a constant after declaration? No. So what is it telling you? You can modify after declaration. So declaration time only initialize it. So declaration time only initialize it. Can I modify a read-only field after declaration? Means actually say it is not mandatory to initialize. Sorry, just a minute. Read-only fields also cannot be modified. Just like a constant. Just like a constant. So read-only fields also cannot be modified just like a constant. But the difference is constant cannot be modified after declaration, and read only cannot be modified after. I already said you this particular thing also. After initialization, it cannot be modified. Means what is the meaning? Declaration time initializing is not mandatory there. Understand English? What is it telling you? I already explained you declaration and initialization. Separating declaration, initialization. I explained you all these things to you. Now what is it telling you? Initialization at the time of declaration is not required here. Why not required? Very clearly telling you. Read-only fields also cannot be modified just like constants, but the difference is constant cannot be modified after declaration, and read-only cannot be modified after this. Clearly, it is giving an indication to you. Declaration time initialization is not mandatory. Declaration time initialization is not mandatory, but for constant, mandatory. For read-only, it is not mandatory. You look at read-only bool. Read-only bool flag is a valid statement. I don't require to initialize it. I only declared it. What is it? Declaration. Later I say flag is equals to true. What is this? Initialization. This is initialization. Okay. So now declaration and initialization are separated or not? Yes or not? See now. After the initialization process is completed, this cannot be modified anymore. I given you an example also here. Static is constant is like a train ticket, and read only is like a bus ticket. End of the day, one thing is common for both. What is that? You know, they cannot be modified. Once ticket issued, they cannot be modified. Are you clear? Once ticket issued, cannot be modified. Once the ticket is issued, that cannot be modified at all. Are you clearer or not? But what is the difference? For a train ticket, first required to purchase the ticket and enter into the train. For a bus ticket, first enter into a bus and take the ticket. Yes or not? For a train, take the ticket and come in. For a bus, come in and take the ticket. However you do, once ticket issued, it cannot be modified. How can we change y value? You don't know how to assign a value to a variable? Silly question here. But how you assign? That's all. Y is equal to 300. But here, y is equals to this is invalid and this is valid. I'm commenting that because that's invalid. Y can be modified, but pi cannot be modified. Okay. So coming back, do you understand me? What's it? The difference between constant and real is? Yes or not? Constant cannot be modified after declaration. Read only cannot be modified after initialization. Observe it. Observe. Now, I'm going to declare read only bool flag. So here, no compilation error, no runtime error. But the same thing we done with a constant, it given an error now? Yes or not? But read only did not give you any error at all. It did not give you any error. Now the big question will be, sir, where can I initialize the read only field? Where can I initialize the read only field? Did you understand the question? Where to initialize a read only field? Okay, the answer is read only fields are initialized either at the time of declaration. You can do this. At time of declaration, you can initialize it, but we did not do that. But possible. Or under a. Are you guys clear? One option is declaration time only, initialize off. So now this also cannot be modified. This also cannot be modified. Second option, don't initialize, come to a constructor and initialize, comma, bool flag. Bool flag. Come here. This dot flag is equals to flag. So where did I initialize? I initialized it under a constructor. Okay, the answer is question. One more time I'm asking you. Two instances are created right now, right? I draw on the page and show you all the things. How many copies of X? Come on, concentrate. How many copies of X? Right, 2. X is non-static now. That's your concentration. How many copies? 2. Why? 1. Why? 1. Flag. Flag. Why? Cannot be modified now? Just to explain you, constant cannot be modified, so maintaining multiple copies is unnecessary waste of memory, yes or not? Well, read only also cannot be modified, you maintain multiple copies or single copy? Single or multiple? Wrong, multiple. Why multiple? Where is it initialized? Under a? When you initialize under constructor multiple copies here, the behavior of the read only non-static. The behavior of a read only field is similar to non-static. It is similar to non-static. So now, what happens, the flag is initialized. I'm sorry, guys. The flag is not initialized. The flag is not initialized out of the instance. The flag is initialized inside the instance. You have 2 copies of the flag here. And now we'll have the same doubt now. Sir, cannot be modified now. Then maintaining multiple copies, unnecessary memory, you just set the same point with a constant. Yes or not? When did I say the value is same? I said, you're correct now? But now the value will be same here. The value won't be same? No. See, you're passing a second parameter to the constructor now. Watch. Comma, true. Okay? Comma, value is somewhat different. Now it makes sense maintaining separate copies or not. When value is same, you don't maintain multiple copies. The value is going to be different. It makes sense maintaining multiple copies. You see, you have a copy here, and the value is true. And you have another copy here with the value false. Understood, all of you? The behavior of a non-static field is similar to the behavior. I'm sorry, etc. The behavior of a read-only field is similar to the behavior of non-static. What is that? Maintains a separate copy for each instance. Maintains a separate copy for each instance. Are you clear? Then what is the difference between the two? What is the difference between X and flag? What is the difference between non-static and read-only? You understood the difference between constant and static, na? Same difference only, na? What is the difference between non-static and read-only? Non-static can be modified. Read-only cannot be modified. Read-only cannot be modified. See, look, the behavior of a read-only field is similar to the behavior of non-static field. That is, it is initialized. It is initialized when the instance of class is created, maintaining a separate copy for each instance. Maintaining a separate copy for each instance. The only difference between non-static and read-only is, what is the difference? Non-static is modifiable, whereas read-only is not. That's all. What they are, see, these two are same. Only difference here, modifiable, not modifiable. That's all. So once again, I'm telling you, see the picture carefully. What is that? Y and phi are same. When are they initialized? When the execution starts. How many copies will they maintain? One copy. Then what is the difference? First one is modifiable, second one is non-modifiable. And X and flag are same. Understood? What is that? Initialized only after creating the instance. And maintains a separate copy for each instance. Only difference, modifiable, non-modifiable. So basically, there are 4 different categorizations of the fields in your code now. Static, non-static, constant, read-only. So which one should I use in my code? Should I use statica, non-statica, read-only, or constant? Come on. What's your answer? If I ask you a question, which one should I use in my code? Static should be used, constant should be used, read-only should be used, then what is your answer? It depends on the requirement. The question is foolish. Why the question is foolish? If you decide one, are the designers fools? Are the designers fools to you, giving you 4 options to you? Tell me. Everything is used in a different scenario. Situation tells you what to use. Are you clearer or not? Okay, see, when you're just going to do some work, based on the situation, your plan changes. Understood my point? Yes or not? You want to drill a nail into the wall. To fix something. What size of the nail will you take? 1 mm, 2 mm, 3 mm, 4 mm, 5 mm, or 6 mm? That depends upon what I am going to hang to it. I'm going to hang a lightweight keychain here. I want to hang a keychain. If you want to hang a keychain, 1 mm nail is enough. You want to put a photo frame now. So you think of having a bigger size. You want to put a wall clock, which is in heavy weight. So depending upon that, you change your plan or not. So exactly, you cannot fix a 1 mm nail there and you cannot hang 100 kgs weight to it. Okay, so point understand. What is it? We are given with 4 different options. Everything is depending on the requirement. Let me complete the remaining 2 also. When I explain you about the ATM case study, I will make yourself to tell what should I use in this scenario. Okay, I will write code and show you, and you will only tell constant will say here, Read only will suit here, non-static will suit here, or static will suit here. Is it clear? Now what you understand? Now you should understand the behavior of before. Tomorrow when you're putting in the implementation, now based on the requirement, we need to understand, okay, this is the requirement. This is what I should use. Clear or not? Okay, so based on the requirements, we just pick up the appropriate thing here. And that's what exactly the constant and read only is all about. Okay, 4 different kinds of fields what we have. Any doubts with all the 4? See, if you want to change the X value, you can. Okay, just a minute, guys. Console dot write line S1 dot flag plus S2 dot flag. S1 dot flag and S2 dot flag. Run, it depends. It prints the values. Are you clear? This is a separate copy. This is a separate copy. You can see the picture. You'll understand it much better. Everything is a separate copy. Now, hold on. First, I printed all the original values. I'm having a line note here. Now we'll just see modifiable and non-modifiable things now. What is modifiable? Y is equals to 500. Valid or not? Console dot write line Y. Changes it. Y changed. Okay. Same like this. I want to modify pi value. Pi is equals to 3.14. Sorry, 3.15 F or 35 F. Something that's invalid. That is invalid. Error. That is an error. Okay. So I am commenting this and I'm putting up here. What? Invalid, because it is a constant, because pi is a constant. Pi is a constant. You can do this. Clear? Next, can I modify x value? Can I modify x value or not? How to modify the x value? S1 dot x is equals to S1 dot x is equals to some 700 and S2 dot x is equals to 800. I can modify both the two values and reprint and see are they modified or not. Okay. Now I want to modify the flag values. I want to modify the flag value. S1 dot flag. S1 dot flag. Originally the value is 2. Original value is 2, but now I'm writing false. And S2 dot flag is 2. I reversed it. I reversed the values, but both are errors. Both are errors. Why? It is a read only. Flag is a read only field. Okay. So here also I'm writing invalid because flag is a read only field. Is a constant field. And you are valid because y is a static field. Yeah, y is a static field, and you are invalid because pi is a constant field. And same way, is it valid here? Yes or not? This is also valid. This is also sorry, valid. Valid because x is a non-static field, and here invalid because flag is a read only field. Okay, now, and you can say modified values and non-modifiable values. 200 change it to 500, 50 change it to 700, 150 change it to 800. But 3.14 is now also fixed, and true and false are now also fixed. Those values can never be modified at any point of time. I hope all the 4 types of fields are clear. Don't have any confusions. Okay, don't forget. Constant is behaving like static, and read only behaves like not static. Okay, memory allocation, accessing, same process. Only difference is first one is modifiable, second one is non-modifiable. Okay, practice this earlier. Now I'll talk about the differences between The differences between static, non-static methods, static, non-static constructors also. Okay. Array static is single copy. Static is single copy. When did I say static cannot be modified? I did not say static cannot be modified. Nah. Static is only one copy. You can modify. Multiple copies won't be there. It is